very urgent. Your soulmate just made a painful choice. Before they discovered the truth about you. Don't scroll, listen to this because this message is for you. Your heart needs this right now. My beloved child, before we continue, if these words bring peace and encouragement to your heart, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss the messages meant to strengthen your spirit. Receive these words as a fictional prophetic style message created to inspire hope, self-reflection, and inner peace. Tonight I ask you to quiet every distraction for just a few moments because something important is unfolding inside this story. While the world continued moving as if nothing unusual had happened, your soulmate found themselves standing before a decision they never imagined they would have to make. It was not an easy decision. It was not a joyful one. It felt heavy, confusing, and deeply painful. They believed they understood everything they needed to know, so they acted according to what they thought was true. They convinced themselves that walking away emotionally was the safest choice. They believed creating distance would protect both of you from future disappointment. They thought silence would hurt less than uncertainty. Yet what they did not realize was that they were making one of the most painful choices of their life before discovering the truth about you. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, many people believe that wrong choices are always made because of bad intentions. That is not always the case. Sometimes painful choices are made because people are missing the very truth that would have completely changed their decision. That evening your soulmate sat alone with thoughts that refused to leave them. They replayed conversations in their mind again and again. They remembered moments that once seemed clear but suddenly felt incomplete. They tried convincing themselves they had done the right thing, yet their heart refused to agree with their mind. An unexplainable emptiness quietly settled inside them. No matter how they tried to justify their decision, peace remained absent. My beloved child, whenever a heart acts without seeing the complete picture, it often carries a quiet weight that cannot easily be explained. They could not understand why they felt grief over a choice they believed was necessary. They expected relief, but instead they found sorrow. They expected certainty, but instead they found questions. Listen to this because this message is for you. Sometimes the absence of peace is not punishment. Sometimes it is simply an invitation to look deeper before accepting appearances as truth. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now because while your soulmate struggled with uncertainty, another story was unfolding that they knew nothing about. They had formed opinions based upon incomplete information. They had accepted assumptions without realizing important pieces of your journey remained hidden. They never saw the nights you stayed strong while carrying burdens no one else noticed. They never witnessed the quiet sacrifices you made to protect the people you loved. They never understood the silent battles you fought while still choosing kindness over bitterness. My beloved child, the strongest people are often those whose greatest victories happen where no applause can be heard. Because those unseen moments remained hidden, your soulmate misunderstood your silence. They believed your quietness meant distance when it was actually strength. They believed your patience meant hesitation when it was actually wisdom. They believed your calmness meant indifference when it was actually compassion. As another hour passed, they remembered one conversation that suddenly refused to leave their thoughts. At the time it seemed ordinary, but now every word echoed differently. They remembered the gentleness in your voice. They remembered how carefully you chose your words, never speaking to wound another heart. They remembered how you encouraged hope even while carrying your own unanswered questions. Suddenly they asked themselves something they had never asked before. What if I misunderstood them completely? That single question changed everything. My beloved child, genuine transformation often begins with one honest question. Pride insists it already knows the answer. Wisdom becomes willing to ask whether it has been wrong all along. Listen to this because this message is for you. The moment humility enters the heart, truth quietly begins finding its way inside. Perhaps recently you have noticed repeating numbers like 111, 222, 333, or 444 appearing during unexpected moments. Maybe they catch your attention while you are reflecting, praying, or simply moving through your day. My beloved child, receive these moments as gentle reminders to slow down, remain grateful, and continue growing in wisdom rather than fear. Do not build your future upon signs alone. Build it upon honesty, compassion, patience, and thoughtful choices. Peace grows strongest where wisdom is allowed to lead. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now because your soulmate's painful choice continued following them throughout the day. They smiled around others, completed their responsibilities, and tried convincing themselves everything was fine. Yet beneath the surface something continued whispering that their heart had not reached the end of the story. Every quiet moment brought your memory back once again. They remembered the respect you showed even toward people who misunderstood you. They remembered how you listened without rushing to judge. They remembered the countless small acts of kindness that once seemed ordinary but now appeared extraordinary. Slowly they began noticing a pattern. Every memory reminded them of your character, not your circumstances. That realization unsettled them because character cannot easily be explained away by misunderstanding. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, while your soulmate wrestled with these emotions, I was quietly inviting them toward deeper understanding. I did not force answers upon them. Instead, I allowed reflection to become their teacher. They began noticing how often fear had influenced their decisions. Fear told them they needed certainty before extending trust. Fear encouraged quick conclusions instead of patient understanding. Fear whispered that protecting themselves mattered more than discovering the whole truth. Yet the more honestly they examined their heart, the more clearly they recognized fear had never truly brought them peace. It had only brought temporary distance. Wisdom, however, was beginning to lead them in another direction. As evening arrived once again, they found themselves unable to stop thinking about one possibility. What if your silence had been carrying a story they had never taken time to hear? What if your strength had been mistaken for emotional distance? What if the painful decision they made had been based upon only half the truth? Those questions stayed with them long after the sun disappeared beneath the horizon. They no longer felt confident defending their decision. Instead, they became curious. My beloved child, curiosity born from humility opens doors that certainty born from pride always keeps closed. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now because I also want to speak directly to you. There were seasons when you wondered whether remaining kind despite misunderstanding had accomplished anything meaningful. You questioned whether anyone would ever truly recognize your heart. You worried that people judged your silence without knowing the battles hidden behind it. My beloved child, I saw every unseen sacrifice. I saw every quiet prayer whispered through disappointment. I saw every moment you chose compassion instead of resentment. Nothing done with genuine love has ever been forgotten. Every act of integrity continues, leaving a mark far beyond what human eyes can measure. As night settled once more, your soulmate finally admitted something they had been trying to avoid. The painful choice they made no longer felt complete. Something inside them insisted there was another piece of the story waiting to be discovered. Instead of sleeping peacefully, they found themselves replaying your words, your kindness, your patience, and your quiet strength. They no longer wished to prove themselves right. They simply wanted to know the truth. Listen to this, because this message is for you. My beloved child, that desire for truth marks the beginning of genuine transformation. A heart willing to exchange certainty for understanding has already taken its first step toward wisdom. Before dawn arrived, an unexpected conversation began unfolding somewhere they never anticipated. Someone who knew a hidden part of your journey was about to reveal a truth your soulmate had never heard before. That truth would explain your silence, your patience, and the sacrifices you quietly carried without asking for recognition. The painful choice they believed was final was about to collide with a reality they never imagined existed. And when they finally discover what has always been hidden about you, my beloved child, they will realize that the greatest mistake was never caring too deeply, it was making a life-changing decision before they knew the extraordinary truth that had been quietly living inside your heart all along. Don't scroll, listen to this, because this message is for you. Your heart needs this right now. My beloved child, before we continue, if these words encourage your spirit, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss the messages meant to bring hope and peace into your life. The painful choice your soulmate made was supposed to close a chapter forever, but instead it opened a door they never expected to walk through. They believed the decision they made would silence every unanswered question inside their heart. They convinced themselves that once they stepped away, everything would become easier. Yet the opposite happened. The more they tried to move forward, the more their heart kept returning to you. Every quiet moment became another reminder that something important had been left unfinished. They could not explain why your name suddenly echoed through their thoughts more often than ever before. They tried distracting themselves with work, conversations, responsibilities, and plans for the future, but no matter how busy they became, there was always a quiet moment when your memory returned. Listen to this, because this message is for you. My beloved child, there are times when a heart tries to outrun the truth, only to discover that truth patiently waits at every destination. The morning after that painful decision felt strangely different. Your soulmate expected relief, but instead they carried an emptiness they had never experienced before. They smiled when others were around, answered questions as if everything was normal, and continued moving through the day, but inside something felt incomplete. Every task became more difficult because their thoughts refused to remain focused. They found themselves staring out of windows without realizing how much time had passed. They replayed your last conversations over and over again, searching for clues they might have missed. Suddenly they began remembering small details they had ignored before. They remembered the tiredness hidden behind your smile. They remembered moments when you paused before answering difficult questions. They remembered how often you encouraged others while quietly carrying burdens of your own. My beloved child, wisdom often arrives through details that once seemed too ordinary to notice. The smallest memories frequently reveal the greatest truths. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now, because while your soulmate struggled with these thoughts, something unexpected happened. They met someone who mentioned your name during an ordinary conversation. They were not expecting it. The discussion had nothing to do with relationships or the past. Yet somehow your name naturally entered the conversation. At first they listened politely without thinking much about it. But then that person began describing your character. They spoke about your generosity. They spoke about your honesty. They shared stories of quiet kindness that you had never told anyone yourself. They explained how you had helped people without asking for recognition. Every story sounded completely genuine. Your soulmate remained silent because every word they heard conflicted with the assumptions they had carried for so long. Listen to this, because this message is for you. My beloved child, truth often arrives through voices we never expected to hear. As the conversation continued, another revelation quietly unfolded. They learned that during the very season when they believed you had become distant, you had actually been facing challenges you chose not to place upon anyone else's shoulders. Instead of asking people to carry your burdens, you protected them from your pain. Instead of demanding sympathy, you continued encouraging everyone around you. My beloved child, your soulmates suddenly realized something that deeply humbled them. They had judged your silence without ever asking what your silence was carrying. That realization felt heavier than any regret they had experienced before. They wished they had simply asked one sincere question instead of assuming they already understood everything. Listen to this, because this message is for you. Sometimes one honest conversation could prevent years of misunderstanding. Perhaps you have recently noticed repeating numbers appearing in unexpected places. Maybe 111 catches your attention just when hope begins returning. Perhaps 222 appears whenever patience feels difficult. Maybe 444 reminds you that even during uncertain seasons you are never truly alone. Or perhaps 555 quietly appears during moments of change, encouraging you to embrace growth rather than fear it. My beloved child, allow these moments to remind you to continue choosing wisdom over worry. The future is built one thoughtful decision at a time, not one anxious thought at a time. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now, because your soulmate returned home carrying thoughts they could no longer ignore. For the first time, they stopped defending the painful choice they had made. Instead, they honestly admitted that they might have been wrong. Those words were difficult to say even in the privacy of their own heart. Pride wanted to protect old conclusions, but humility quietly whispered something different. You did not know the whole story. Those words remained with them throughout the evening. They realized that every decision they had made was based upon incomplete information. My beloved child, incomplete information almost always creates incomplete understanding. Only truth has the power to replace assumption with clarity. As night slowly approached, your soulmate opened old conversations between the two of you. They were not searching for emotional comfort. They were searching for truth. This time they read every message differently. They noticed how often you encouraged them during difficult moments. They noticed how carefully you chose words that brought peace instead of conflict. They noticed how many opportunities they had overlooked to ask deeper questions. Every sentence seemed to reveal another layer of your heart they had never appreciated before. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, perspective changes everything. The same words can carry entirely different meaning once wisdom enters the heart. Unable to sleep once again, they walked outside beneath the quiet night sky. The stars above seemed brighter than usual. As they stood there, they whispered a prayer unlike any they had spoken before. They did not ask for circumstances to change overnight. They did not ask for immediate answers. They simply prayed, "Please show me the truth, even if it humbles me." My beloved child, whenever someone sincerely asks for truth instead of convenience, transformation quietly begins. That prayer became the turning point they never expected. Listen to this because this message is for you. While your soulmate has been uncovering hidden pieces of your story, I have also been strengthening your own heart. There were moments when you believed your quiet sacrifices would never be understood. You questioned whether remaining patient while carrying invisible burdens truly mattered. You wondered if your silence had caused people to misunderstand your intentions forever. My beloved child, I saw every hidden tear. I heard every silent prayer. I watched every moment you chose compassion over resentment. Nothing done with genuine love has ever disappeared. Every unseen act of faithfulness continues producing fruit in ways you cannot yet fully see. Don't scroll. Your heart needs this right now because another surprising realization entered your soulmate's heart before the night ended. They finally understood that the painful choice they made had never brought peace because peace cannot be built upon misunderstanding. It can only grow where truth is allowed to flourish. They no longer blamed you for the distance they felt. Instead, they began recognizing how fear, assumptions, and incomplete understanding had quietly shaped their decisions. That realization did not fill them with hopeless regret. Instead, it inspired genuine growth. They began asking themselves, how can I become wiser? How can I listen better? How can I avoid repeating this mistake? My beloved child, those questions are the beginning of real transformation because they are no longer focused on proving themselves right. They are focused on becoming better. As another dawn prepared to arrive, your soulmate sensed that this story was far from over. The truth they had discovered was only the beginning. There were still hidden chapters they had not yet read. There were still conversations they had never heard. There were still sacrifices you had quietly made that remained unknown to them. Deep within their spirit they felt an unusual anticipation, as though another revelation was approaching. They could not explain why, but they knew they were standing on the edge of something life-changing. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, before another day ends, your soulmate will encounter one final truth that will completely reshape everything they believed about your heart. When that moment arrives, they will realize that the painful choice they made was never the greatest tragedy. The greatest tragedy was that they made it before discovering the extraordinary depth of your love, your resilience, your quiet sacrifices, and the beautiful truth that had been waiting patiently to be seen all along. Don't scroll. listen to this because this message is for you. Your heart needs this right now. My beloved child, before we continue, if these words bring encouragement to your spirit, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss the messages meant to inspire hope, peace, and wisdom. The painful choice your soulmate made is no longer the thought that weighs most heavily upon their heart. Something even greater has taken its place. The truth they have begun uncovering refuses to leave them in peace until they understand every missing piece of your story. They believed they had already discovered everything they needed to know, but each passing hour continues revealing another hidden layer they never imagined existed. They no longer see your silence as distance. They no longer see your patience as hesitation. They no longer see your kindness as weakness. Instead, they are beginning to recognize that every quiet decision you made came from a place of extraordinary strength. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, wisdom changes the way memories are remembered. The same moments that once caused confusion are now becoming undeniable evidence of the truth they failed to see. Early that morning your soulmate woke before the sun had fully risen. Sleep had visited them only briefly because their heart refused to stop searching for answers. As they sat quietly with a cup of coffee in their hands, they found themselves staring out of the window while your words echoed in their memory. They remembered something you once said that seemed insignificant at the time. You had quietly spoken about choosing peace even when people misunderstood your intentions. Back then they nodded politely without fully understanding what you meant. Today those words returned with remarkable clarity. Suddenly they realized you had not been speaking about someone else. You had been describing your own life. My beloved child, how often do people reveal their deepest truths in the simplest sentences, while those around them fail to recognize the meaning until much later? That realization settled deeply inside your soulmate's heart. They whispered to themselves, "They were trying to tell me, and I never truly listened." Don't scroll. Your heart needs this right now because later that day another unexpected conversation changed everything again. Your soulmate met someone who had witnessed a chapter of your life they had never known existed. They were not searching for information about you. The conversation happened naturally, almost unexpectedly, yet every sentence seemed to answer questions they had carried for days. They learned how many sacrifices you quietly made without telling anyone. They heard how you continued helping others while privately carrying your own disappointments. They discovered that during the very season they believed you had become emotionally distant, you were protecting people you loved from burdens you never wanted them to carry. Every story they heard sounded remarkably familiar because it reflected the same kindness they had always seen in you. Yet now those qualities carried an entirely new meaning. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, truth has a remarkable way of confirming itself. When different voices describe the same heart, wisdom begins recognizing that character speaks louder than circumstances ever could. As the conversation ended, your soulmate remained sitting quietly long after everyone else had gone. They replayed every word they had just heard. Their eyes slowly filled with tears, not tears of despair, but tears of realization. They finally understood that the painful choice they had made had never been based upon your true character. It had been based upon assumptions built from incomplete understanding. That realization humbled them in ways they had never experienced before. They remembered every moment they judged your silence. They remembered every opportunity they had to ask one more question instead of accepting their own conclusions. My beloved child, humility is painful because it requires us to admit that we misunderstood someone who deserved greater patience. Yet humility is also beautiful because it opens the door to wisdom that pride could never enter. Listen to this because this message is for you. Perhaps recently you have continued seeing numbers like 111, 222, 333, or 444 during quiet moments of reflection. Maybe they appear when your heart begins wondering whether unseen things are still unfolding. My beloved child, allow these moments to remind you to remain calm and grounded. They are gentle invitations to keep choosing compassion, gratitude, and patience. Do not allow uncertainty to steal the peace that has been growing within you. Continue living faithfully one day at a time, trusting that genuine character never loses its value simply because recognition arrives later than expected. Don't scroll. Your heart needs this right now because your soulmate has now begun looking at every memory through completely different eyes. They remembered your smile during difficult seasons. At the time they assumed you simply hid your emotions. Now they understand that your smile often existed because you wanted others to feel safe, even while your own heart carried unanswered questions. They remembered how quickly you forgave people who apologized sincerely. They remembered your willingness to celebrate someone else's success without envy. They remembered countless moments when you quietly stepped aside so another person could shine. None of those actions demanded attention. Yet together they painted the portrait of someone whose greatest strength had always been selfless love. My beloved child, the strongest hearts rarely announce their sacrifices. They simply continue choosing goodness every single day. As evening approached, your soulmate did something they never imagined they would do. They opened a notebook and began writing everything they had learned about you over the past few days. At first they believed they were simply organizing their thoughts, but soon they realized they were documenting the journey of their own transformation. They wrote about your kindness. They wrote about your patience. They wrote about your integrity. Then they paused for several minutes before writing one final sentence: I never truly knew how extraordinary they were. The moment those words appeared on the page, an overwhelming sense of peace quietly filled the room. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, the heart becomes lighter when it finally stops resisting the truth. While your soulmate has been discovering these hidden chapters of your life, I have also been strengthening your own heart. There were nights when you questioned whether anyone would ever understand the reasons behind your silence. You wondered if remaining faithful to your values had cost you opportunities that could never return. You questioned whether choosing grace instead of anger had made any real difference. My beloved child, every quiet sacrifice was seen. Every unseen act of compassion was remembered. Every decision to remain kind while carrying private pain became part of the strength I was building within you. Never believe that goodness disappears simply because it goes unnoticed for a season. Seeds planted in love continue growing long after they disappear beneath the surface. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now because your soulmate has reached another profound realization. They now understand that the painful choice they made cannot define the rest of this journey. They are no longer asking themselves how they can defend that decision. They are asking how they can become the kind of person who never repeats the same mistake again. They have begun listening more carefully to others. They have become slower to judge and quicker to ask questions. They are learning that understanding another person's heart requires patience, humility, and genuine compassion. Every lesson they are learning points back to you because your life quietly reflected those qualities long before they recognized them. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, true growth is measured not by how perfectly someone lived yesterday, but by how willingly they choose wisdom today. As night slowly settled over the world once again, your soulmate stood beneath the stars with a peaceful heart. For the first time since making that painful choice, they no longer felt trapped by regret alone. Regret had become gratitude because it had opened their eyes to truths they might otherwise have overlooked forever. They whispered another simple prayer, thanking me for giving them the courage to face uncomfortable truths instead of hiding behind familiar assumptions. They thanked me for revealing the extraordinary beauty hidden within your quiet character. They thanked me for allowing their heart to become softer instead of harder through this experience. My beloved child, continue walking the path of peace I have placed before you. Continue protecting the kindness that has always defined your heart. Continue offering compassion even when recognition comes slowly. Never allow another person's misunderstanding to convince you that your goodness was wasted. Every sincere act of love leaves an eternal imprint upon the hearts it touches. Your soulmate is living proof of that truth. They are discovering that your quiet strength has shaped them more deeply than they ever realized. Yet the greatest revelation has not arrived yet. Before another sunset passes, they will uncover one final truth, a truth connected to a sacrifice you made without telling anyone. When they finally discover why you chose silence instead of explanation, why you carried pain instead of placing it upon others, and why you continued loving with humility despite being misunderstood, my beloved child, they will realize that the painful choice they made before knowing the truth was never the end of this story. It was only the beginning of the greatest awakening their heart has ever experienced, and the final chapter will reveal a truth so profound that it will forever change the way they remember you, the way they understand love, and the way they choose to live from that day forward. Don't scroll, listen to this because this message is for you. Your heart needs this right now. My beloved child, before we continue, if these words bring hope and peace into your life, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss the messages meant to encourage your spirit. This is the final chapter of this fictional prophetic style message, and everything your soulmate has experienced since making that painful choice has been leading to this very moment. The decision they believed would close the story forever has instead become the beginning of the greatest lesson their heart has ever learned. They once believed they had enough information to walk away. They believed silence meant there was nothing more to discover. They believed distance would help them forget. But now they understand something completely different. They were never running away from you, they were running away from a truth they had not yet been willing to see. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, life has a remarkable way of bringing hidden truths into the light when the heart has finally become humble enough to receive them. That moment has now arrived for your soulmate. As dawn broke across the horizon, they woke with an unusual sense of calm. For the first time since making that painful decision, they no longer felt trapped between confusion and regret. Instead, they felt a quiet determination to understand everything honestly. They no longer wished to protect their pride. They wished to protect the truth. They sat alone in complete silence, remembering every conversation, every smile, every quiet act of kindness you had ever shown. This time they were not searching for mistakes. They were searching for meaning. As memory after memory returned, they noticed something they had never recognized before. Every single time you had chosen silence, it had been to protect someone else from unnecessary pain. Every time you stepped back, it was not because you cared less, it was because you loved deeply enough to place another person's peace before your own comfort. My beloved child, that realization struck their heart with incredible force. They suddenly understood that what they had once mistaken for emotional distance had actually been one of the greatest expressions of selfless love they had ever witnessed. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now, because later that same day another unexpected truth reached them. Someone who had quietly watched your journey for years shared a story your soulmate had never heard before. It was not a dramatic story filled with extraordinary events. It was a simple story about an ordinary day when you had the opportunity to defend yourself against unfair criticism but chose not to because you knew doing so would create greater pain for someone else. Instead of exposing another person's mistakes, you accepted being misunderstood. Instead of demanding justice for yourself, you protected another heart. When your soulmate heard that story, they closed their eyes and remained silent for several minutes. Tears slowly filled their eyes because they finally understood the full weight of the sacrifice you had carried without ever asking anyone to notice. Listen to this, because this message is for you. My beloved child, true love is often revealed not through the battles we choose to fight, but through the battles we quietly choose to release for the sake of peace. The more they learned, the more they realized that every assumption they had built had been standing upon incomplete foundations. They remembered judging your quietness. They remembered wondering why you never explained yourself more often. Now they understood why. You had trusted that genuine character would eventually speak louder than temporary misunderstanding. You believed that truth never needed to shout because time would reveal it with patience. My beloved child, that wisdom humbled them deeply. They asked themselves how many people they had misunderstood simply because they expected immediate explanations instead of patiently seeking understanding. Their heart began changing in ways they never imagined possible. Pride slowly disappeared, replaced by compassion. Fear quietly faded, replaced by wisdom. Certainty gave way to humility, and humility opened the door to peace. Listen to this, because this message is for you. Perhaps recently you have continued noticing moments that invite you to pause and reflect. Maybe it is seeing repeating numbers like 111, 222, 444, or 888 during meaningful moments, or perhaps it is simply feeling a quiet sense of hope returning after a difficult season. My beloved child, let these experiences remind you to remain grounded in gratitude rather than anxiety. They are invitations to continue becoming the person you are called to be. True transformation is never measured by extraordinary signs alone. It is measured by the quiet decisions you make every single day to choose honesty, kindness, patience, forgiveness, and peace. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now, because your soulmate has now reached the most important realization of all. They understand that the painful choice they made before discovering the truth cannot erase the lessons they have learned since. Instead of allowing regret to define them, they have chosen to let wisdom shape the future. They have begun treating others differently. They ask more questions before reaching conclusions. They listen with greater patience. They offer compassion where they once offered assumptions. Without fully realizing it, they have begun reflecting the very qualities they admired within you. Listen to this because this message is for you. My beloved child, the greatest apology is often a transformed life. Genuine change speaks louder than promises ever could. As evening arrived, your soulmate opened a journal and wrote about everything they had discovered during this journey. They described the painful choice they once believed was necessary. They wrote about the hidden truths they gradually uncovered. They wrote about your quiet sacrifices, your unwavering kindness, your patience, and your remarkable strength. Finally, after several moments of reflection, they wrote one sentence that summarized everything they had learned: I judged a beautiful heart before I truly understood it. Those words remained on the page as tears quietly fell. Yet these were no longer tears of hopeless regret. They were tears of gratitude because truth had finally found its way into their heart. My beloved child, gratitude has the power to transform even the deepest mistakes into lifelong wisdom. While your soulmate has been experiencing this awakening, I have also been walking beside you through every step of your own journey. There were seasons when you wondered whether remaining faithful to your values had cost you too much. You questioned whether choosing peace instead of revenge had been worth the sacrifice. You feared that your silence might forever be misunderstood. My beloved child, I witnessed every unseen battle. I heard every whispered prayer. I saw every tear that no one else noticed. Nothing offered with genuine love has ever been wasted. Every quiet act of integrity became part of the foundation upon which your own character continued growing stronger. Even when no human voice acknowledged your sacrifices, they were never forgotten. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now because this story has never been only about your soulmate's awakening. It has also been about your own growth. Through every misunderstanding you became wiser. Through every disappointment you became gentler instead of harder. Through every unanswered question you learned to trust peace more than fear. My beloved child, never regret becoming a person whose heart remained kind in a world that often rewarded bitterness. The greatest victories are rarely the loudest. They are found inside hearts that continue choosing compassion when resentment would have been easier. As night gently covered the sky one final time, your soulmate stood beneath the stars with complete honesty inside their heart. They no longer carried the burden of defending the painful choice they once made. Instead, they carried deep gratitude for the truth that had transformed them. They realized that discovering the truth about you had not simply changed their opinion of one person, it had changed the way they would live for the rest of their life. They understood that genuine love cannot exist without patience. Real understanding cannot exist without humility. Lasting peace cannot exist where assumptions replace honest conversations. Every lesson pointed them back to the same truth: your quiet character had become the greatest teacher they never knew they needed.